It says you've continued to do great miracles in Israel and all around the world. You've made your name famous to this day. Now, when we remember God, we're remembering things that He did centuries ago. We're also remembering stuff He did last week. Because God hasn't changed. He's still doing the same things that He's always done. He's still helping His people. He's still blessing His people. He's still guiding His people. He's still loving His people. In Judges 2:10, though, it says, after that generation died, another generation grew up who did not acknowledge the Lord or remember the mighty things He had done for Israel. They didn't acknowledge Him. They didn't remember Him. And they very quickly separated themselves from Him. This is what happens when we don't remember what God has done. This is what happens when we don't pay enough attention to the things God is doing to notice who's doing it. Have you ever felt taken for granted? Do you suppose God has ever felt that way? I was sitting there looking out the kitchen window this morning and I thought, that's a really nice sunrise today. There were some high clouds in the sky, and the way the sun was coming over the mountains in the east, they were pink. And you could see all through the valley. And as the sun came up, the valley was changing colors, and the clouds went from pink to light pink to kind of yellowish to white. Who was responsible for that sunrise? God was. The funny thing is, that exact sunrise was only seen by me. Because anyone else who was looking at it was looking at it from a different perspective. And I always try to remember who's responsible for that stuff when I see something like that. And I just kind of laugh because I think that whole show that I watched this morning, God did for me. I'm the only one in my kitchen that was looking out the window watching the sunrise. You mean Rhonda wasn't? Not a one of our cats was even interested. This is one of the reasons it is so vitally important that we raise our children to know, acknowledge, and remember the things that God has done. This is one of the reasons that we spend so much time and energy providing Christian education for kids here. This is one of the reasons that my mom and dad made sure I was in church every Sunday growing up. In Sunday school, in children's church, in youth group. This is one of the reasons that Rhonda spent every Sunday morning in children's church, in Sunday school, in youth group. Whether she was dressed and ready for church or not. That was kind of the deal your mom made with you at one point, right? You're coming whether you're ready or not. And so she'd show up in her bathroom with her makeup in a bag and go in. But it's so important to raise our kids this way. Otherwise, in a generation, it can be gone. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is look around at our culture right now. There are things happening in our country that a generation ago we would not have thought were even possible. But we've not been teaching our kids. Well, that's happened in the church too. So, after that generation died, another generation grew up who did not acknowledge the Lord or remember the mighty things He had done for Israel. I don't want that to be us. We need to remember what God did.